1929, a significant year in the national movement of India and also in the history of India. 1929, failure of the Simon Commission, death of Lala Lajpat Roy, a severe blow to the Congress, and a turning point in the national movement of India. Hello students, yes, we are discussing about the year 1920s, that after the failure of the Simon Commission, in the Simon Commission agitation, the death of Lala Lajpat Roy due to the lathi blows, it made the Indians realize that Britishers will always remain foreigners in our country. They will never be attached to the feelings, to the emotions of the Indians, and they will never be Indianized in future. So this was a change, a turning point in the freedom struggle. However, Lord Irwin was sent to India in October 1929 with a vague offer, and the offer had two promises, 2 points. The first was dominion status to the Indians in near future, and the second was that the British government have decided to convene round table conferences in London to decide the future constitution for India. So these were the two offers given by Irwin in October 1929, and Indians had no belief on it because earlier also their hopes were belied. And they could not depend on Irwin, and actually they called it a vague offer. This is also known as the vague offer of October. Instead, in December, under the presidency of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, our nationalists met in Lahore, which is known as the Lahore Session of Congress. Your map work. Under the presidency of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, people of India decided not to fight for Swaraj now, but to fight for complete independence or Poorn Swaraj from the Britishers, and have an independent authority, independent country. On the river Ravi, rivers have always been a part of our culture, always been considered to be very pious and sacred. So people took an oath on the river Ravi that now we have to fight for Poorn Swaraj. And it was also decided to celebrate Independence Day in advance next year, that is next month, October 1929, January 1930. So 26 January was selected as the date, 26 January 1930, that we will celebrate Independence Day in advance. In the night of 25th January, after 25th January, after 12 o'clock at night, it was a new day. Indian nationalists climbed up the government buildings, they took away the British flag, and everywhere Indian tricolor was hosted. However, this celebration attracted very little attention, but even then it was a mark. It was a symbol that Indians are not happy on the death of Lala Lajpat Roy, and now they wanted that Britishers should leave India as an independent country. However, when Gandhiji came to know about it, he said that it is an abstract idea because independence was not had by this time. 1930 was after long years we got independence. So this was only a symbolic way to show their enthusiasm and to show their zeal for independence. So Mahatma Gandhi told the nationalists, the Indian nationalists, that it is an abstract idea, and to give it a concrete shape. Concrete shape means to give it an actual shape, that actually we attain independence. Let us relate it with the All India agitation. All India agitation movement, that was another mass movement of Gandhi, and that was the beginning of the civil disobedience movement 1930. So this topic is complete. See NCERT pages 62, 63, 64, 65. On all these pages you will get whatever I am telling you. Now, before we start the civil disobedience movement, we will go through the salt march or the salt tax. Meanwhile, we talked about the economic depression yesterday. We talked that during the First World War, a lot of expenditure was done by the foreigners, to win the war. There was scarcity of money. There was worldwide economic depression. And Britishers, you know what they did in India? They taxed salt. Salt, which is a natural resource of India. And Britishers saw in it that it is a thing which is used by rich and poor alike. All the people buy salt. Salt, without which we cannot survive. And it's a main medium of cooking food. Natural resource of India. Britishers monopolized all the Indian salt factories because it is a natural resource of India. And Indian villagers used to manufacture salt traditionally. In the fields, they used to let the sea water stand, and then they used to derive salt, sea salt or rock salt, you can call it. So this was taxed, and Britishers monopolized Indian factories. Gandhiji said that this is the most dirtiest phase of the colonial rule in India. It cannot be dirty apart from this, that even salt is taxed. So Mahatma Gandhi told all the Indians, and he also thought that salt is a thing which will unite all of us, because all of the people, all the sections of the society were suffering under this tax. So Gandhiji united them all and told them that let us be united and fight against the salt tax. Gandhiji wrote a letter to Irwin on 31st January 1930. Note it down, this is a very important date. 31st January 1930, Gandhiji wrote a letter to Irwin stating 11 demands. There were demands for the peasants, there were demands for the workers, there were demands for the different sections of the society, but the most steering, underlined, the most steering of all the demand was abolition of the salt tax. Actually, this letter was in the form of ultimatum, that if this letter is not replied by 11th March, again an important date, please note it down, up to 11th March 1930, if you do not reply to us, then we will be forced to launch a mass movement, that is civil disobedience movement. However, Irwin was not in a mood to have any conversation, to accept any of the demand, and up to 11th March, when there was no reply, it was beginning of the Salt March. Now, Salt March. From Gandhiji's ashram in Gujarat, Sabarmati to Dandi. Sabarmati to Dandi. So, Salt March was proposed. It was 240 miles from Sabarmati to Dandi, the sea coast in Gujarat, your map work. It was 240 miles. Gandhiji started with 78 of his trusted volunteers and began his march from his ashram, covering 10 miles a day. It was a 24 days march. 240 miles, covering 10 miles a day, 24 days. Gandhiji started with 78 of his volunteers, but on the way, wherever he took halt, wherever he stopped in the villages, in the nearby villages, wherever he stopped to give speeches, many people followed him, and a remarkable feature was that even women followers were there. Even women followed Gandhiji. So after reaching Dandi, it was a huge mob with Gandhiji, and it looked like a ceremonial environment over there. Ceremonial environment. People were very happy that now salt will be out of tax. After reaching Dandi on 6 April 1930, again note down the date, and on 6 April 1930, after reaching Dandi, Gandhiji picked up a handful of salt from the boiling sea water. Without paying tax, without taking license from the Britishers, he manufactured salt, and there Gandhiji gave a very effective, a very influential speech to his followers and to the Indians. Let every village manufacture salt. Sisters should picket liquor shops, foreign cloth dealers' shops. Students should give up going in British schools and colleges. Lawyers should give up going in British law courts. Then put some dots, and you will see that Poon Swaraj, inverted commas, that Poon Swaraj will come knocking at our doors. This speech filled a new energy among the Indians, and there was countrywide agitation, and this marked the beginning of the civil disobedience movement in India the second important movement of Gandhi. Now, how this movement was different from the non-cooperation, because in the civil disobedience movement also, just now I told you students should give up British institutions, lawyers should give up law court, this was there, plus breaking the laws, that is to be disobedient towards the Britishers. And another feature was participation of women in it. In the non-cooperation movement, hardly women were there, but during the civil disobedience movement, many women were there with Gandhi. So a big difference from non-cooperation movement. During the civil disobedience movement, two places became very important centers of agitation, that is Peshawar and Sholapur. In Peshawar, Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan was arrested during the civil disobedience movement. He belonged to Peshawar, and as soon as public came to know that Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan is arrested, they came on street, they faced armored cars, they asked the Britishers to put them in jail, and there was lots of agitation, transportation and communication was broken, post and telegraph, railway. A month later, Gandhiji was arrested during the civil disobedience movement, and mob came on the street in Sholapur, Gujarat, map work, and they asked the British police to put them in jail. It is said that about 1 lakh people were in jail. There were no places in jail. So this led to again Gandhi-Irwin Pact. Tomorrow we will continue this topic with Gandhi-Irwin Pact. Now Irwin came to Gandhiji to have conversation with him, and we will see what happened in the round table conferences in the next lecture. Till then, it is a goodbye from me.